Hi, I'm Colin and welcome to How to Paint Watercolours. So if you're ready, we'll get started and we'll paint this one. Hello once again and welcome to How to Paint Watercolours with me, Colin. And I've chosen a little bit of a seascape this time round. So I'm just going to put in some raw sienna here. I've got the board laying flat and this is a £140 Saundersford paper. So add a little bit of water in that. I have stretched the paper and there's a thin film of water on it. Just move to a bigger brush. So raw sienna up to about there. Some down this rock here. I'm leaving something for the waves and the splash. Adding water. It will dry a lot lighter, but I'm just keeping this wash fluid. Then we move on to a blue grey, which is the cobalt blue and burnt umber. It goes in the top and into the raw sienna. This is cobalt blue, burnt sienna, just a little bit stronger. Once again, strengthen the corners up a little tiny bit. Cobalt blue, burnt sienna, creating the grey. Once again, bringing it through here. And what I'm going to do now is just going to damp a piece of kitchen towel, and I want to bring out some areas that I want to stand out. And with it being damp, it won't suck the paint up as readily. Oh, that's the idea. Then we're just going to go around and we're just taking up any excess paint or water that may be up round the side. This will stop any runbacks. And now with the blue-grey mixture again with the cobalt blue and burnt umber, I'll just strengthen some areas up around the clouds just to create a little more shape and some hard edges. Looks a little bit uniform, so I'll have to take that one down. Pop a little bit more in here. And then we're going to leave this to dry. Now that that's dry, what we can do now is sort of re-wet some of this cloud area up here. I have pinned the board down so that when the paper shrinks as it dries it won't cockle. And I'm just adding a little bit of water once again just to some of the areas, but I want to leave some white patches on the edge of the clouds. This is a couple of colours mixed up, which is French ultramarine and burnt umber, and into the cloud we're just going to add the weaker mixture first, the browner mixture. In fact, I think we might bring that just a little bit further down into the blue to make things a little interesting. See what happens. Trying not to lift any of the other colour. And also into them along the edges, maybe just a touch of raw sienna. The board is still laying flat. Once again on the bottom edge, just streak some raw sienna in, softening off this edge. Once again, just dropping some raw sienna in just to strengthen it up in areas, just adds more interest. Just allowing it really to take its own way. Burnt umber, French ultramarine. just producing a bit of maybe a storm's going to be brewing. Into this one, it's a darker cloud, and as being as the painting is weighted on this side with the rocks and cliffs, it needs the sky to be on the left hand side just a little bit more interesting, and we can leave that to dry. Now that the clouds are dry, with some clean water we can just wet this background hill. Bringing it down towards the foam, and we want to try to create some mist between these hills, or well, these cliffs, which was the French ultramarine and the burnt umber. I'm just following the lines of the cliff. Just drop some in. I don't want this to be too strong. And gently softening the edges off. Now with some of the darker colour of the sky colour. Just watered that down a bit, just on one or two edges. I just want to add some interest, but very, very weak. Now that that rear hill, the far hill is dry, the cliff, we've re-wet the next one to it, and with the same mixture of the the French ultramarine and burnt umber, we're going to do the same on this side. And we're just going to allow it to drift. I've already re-wet all the cliff area. Once again, pulling it down into the water. We just gently strengthen this up in areas, just to add a little bit more interest, like we did in the last one, the last hill. We now leave this one to dry. Now that this one's dried, what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to do the same to this one, but I do want just a wet patch here, so that when I put the colour in and it hits the water, we will end up with a mist spray around just where that's where the ocean spray is from the wave. This is wet on dry, going into wet, and this is the French ultramarine and burnt umber. Just create some irregular shapes in your rocks. Paint around this cliff edge here, creating some sharp jagged edges. French ultramarine and burnt umber, and the board is still set at a slight angle, so it will allow this to drift. A few helping tugs with the brush wouldn't go amiss. And we have the foreground rocks here, and I'm just going to go with the French ultramarine and burnt umber once again. Now this is a mixture Prussian blue and sepia. This is a really, really dark mix, and we're going to allow this to creep down. And once it's crept down, just before it dries, but when the shine has gone off the paper, we'll try and put some interesting marks in them, just enough to remove some of the paint. Just basically to leave some marks in the paint. Okay. Taking a brush, cleaning up the edge. Okay, this needs to dry once again. Okay, now that one's dry, we can come to the nearest rock here. I'm going to go straight for this dark colour because I really want this to stand out. I'm just going to paint this in. Once again creating some jagged edges and peaks. So once again it's the French ultramarine and burnt umber. Around where the splashes at the rock, at the bottom of the rock, whilst it's still wet. We are just going to drop in the Prussian blue and sepia. And I also want to drop in some of the sky colour, which is the cobalt blue. Sorry, cobalt blue and a touch of burnt sienna. And as the cobalt blue and burnt sienna is opaque, it should leave some interesting effects in the paint. And I just want to mop up some that is gathering at the bottom of the rock and then let this bit dry. Now that that's dry, with a mix of the grey and the burnt sienna, very lightly, this is a dry brush with just a hint of colour on it, which is the cobalt blue and burnt sienna. I'm just going to drag that across there. Getting a hit and miss effect. This is a weak mix of the cobalt blue and burnt sienna. And we're just going to scrumble in some colour on the foam where the spray is. Take the excess off. Once again with the dry brush, with a mix of the cobalt blue and burnt sienna, but a lighter mix, we can start to put the waves in. Especially with the rough paper, you get a hit and miss effect. Bit of energy in it, get some movement going. Taking some more of the cobalt blue and burnt sienna, just darkening it, just a touch. I need a little bit more than that. Just test it, that's better. And bring some of this underneath the lighter colour to form waves, always remembering to leave some of the white to show through for foam. Don't forget to curve your brush in the direction of the waves, allowing the movement to show through. Darker sprays there. Gently pulling it back. Once again now, making it really dark. Just along the bottom. Okay, and then we leave that to dry. Well, now that everything's nice and dry and we can just put a little bit of extra sparkle where the foam is. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please click the like button and subscribe. Subscribing costs you nothing. And I'm just going to pop in some white gouache on top of the foam burst. I've also put in 3 seagulls here, and I think I'm going to call that a day. Then we move on to the best bit. This is where you get to sign it. Once it's dry, you can then mount it and frame it. And like I say, hope you've enjoyed this video. For further painting videos, please subscribe, and I will leave you a link in the description box to other painting videos I have made for YouTube. And I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. Thank you very much.